San Diego State has a $17 million buyout of their Mountain West contract, their grant of rights, if you will, a $17 million buyout that triples on July 1st. I said it triples on July 1st. And if you start doing the math on this, you're over $40 million if you are San Diego State to leave the Mountain West after July 1st, whereas it's $17 million before July 1st, and you have a Pac-12 conference who we've reported on this show exclusively that San Diego State has told the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 has told San Diego State, we'd love to add you. But unequivocally, the Pac-12 is focused on doing a new media rights deal before expansion. And, Jake, it makes you wonder, maybe San Diego State is simply running out of time to join the Pac-12.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you start looking at, out clauses and buyouts and how all of these, grant of rights situations work, I mean, for San Diego State, that's just the reality of your situation. I mean, there's no running from, hey, on July 1st, that number triples. There's just no getting out of that situation because you agreed to that contract. So to me, this is, while this may not be like some official, hey, this is the Pac-12's deadline to expand, let's say, I do think if you're trying to add a school like San Diego State after their fee to leave the Mountain West just tripled, that obviously makes things more difficult. So in a way, it is sort of a deadline, in my opinion, for the Pac-12. Ideally, you would like to have your situation kind of panned out and kind of sorted and figured out. And then that way, hopefully you can go out and you can get San Diego State, and by most people's reports, including our own SMU. And I think that to me is a fine plan. But again, notice what we haven't heard. We haven't heard hey, all systems are go. We're in a great place. It's just the lawyers figuring out the paperwork. And by the way, it's May 15th. So it's not like you have, months and months and months like you did last year, which I still think is the main point here. Hey, this thing continues to go on so much to the point that schools and institutions you're looking to add are running out of time. And that's what I think is tough.
Yeah, and I think what's new here is, I think we've all known there was an exit fee. I don't think anybody had any idea until Ross Dellinger at Sports Illustrated wrote it that it tripled on July 1st.
Yeah.
And I think it brings into clarity just how dire the situation in the Pac-12 is, because pretty soon here, you're just going to be a victim of circumstance at San Diego State, because I don't think now that San Diego State can stay put in the Mountain West. I just don't see how you comfortably do that for the next number of years.
Facts.
Because if you want to join the Big 12 now, I mean, the Big 12 already knows that you don't have the money coming from ESPN to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, we've heard from multiple sources that Fox has said they will kick in more money for San Diego State, but ESPN has already said, hey, we're not going to pay you on par, so they're not going to pay San Diego State $31.7 million or pay the Big 12 for San Diego State $31.7 million.
Yeah.
But remember, again, San Diego State's best value right now is basketball. But anyway, you slice it, this triple penalty, if you will, after July 1st almost makes it untenable for San Diego State to leave, and it puts them in a situation very much like Louisville was all those years ago, where Louisville said, yeah, we're giving you our notice, we're leaving the conference, not sure where we're going, but we're leaving the conference on July 1st, 2024, which seems like the most likely scenario. Now, I will also tell you that we have, we've reached out to all parties involved here and gotten straight no comments. Nobody wants to talk about it. San Diego State does not. The Mountain West has not answered inquiries on this. Other athletic directors that we've reached out have simply said no comment. This is a very interesting situation, and in my mind, I think this is one of the most important conversations, because I do think that San Diego State has significant value. I know we have bandied that about on this show.
Right.
And I think the question is San Diego State worth all of this, I don't know, what would you call consternation?
Effort.
Is San Diego State worth all this? Well, effort's not the word that I would use. San Diego State is worth the effort. But are they worth, it's essentially $40+ million worth of an exit fee. Man, to be talking about $44 million, that's a lot of money, dude. Like that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you are in a situation where I just don't know how all that pencils out. I truly don't. I mean, I look at the math on that and I say to myself, if your San Diego State is $51 million worth the exit fee to get out of the Mountain West, because it's going to take you years in TV revenue to make that $51 million back.
Right.
Because if you're $17 million before July 1st or $51 million after that, I mean, it just brings up the question again, is San Diego State worth a $51 million headache? Because somebody's going to pay that fee. And if it's $51 million, I don't think anybody wants to pay that fee. I truly do not think anybody will pay $51 million for San Diego State. And again, I'll go back to the ACC because I think this is a really important talking point as well. Is Florida State worth all of this headache? Florida State's athletic director, again, going on the record, talking about, these revenue splits. He tells On3 Sports, quote, "I make no bones about it," right? This is Michael Alford, the athletic director at Florida State. "I make no bones about it that we're the top brand in the conference." Well, somebody forgot to tell already Crown Clemson that. In all seriousness, you're telling me that you're Florida State and you believe you're the top brand in the ACC. Not in basketball, you're not. And I would say not in football, you're not. I mean, am I wrong about that? Like,
No.
You look at this statement, and Florida State Athletic Director Michael Alford continues, when you look at how they measure media contracts with household viewership and championships, we're driving that viewership for our conference at a high rate. Well, I don't know. You can look at this list right here, and you can see Florida State, you're 15th on that list.
And that's how I look at it.
Clemson's 10th. By the way, you might notice that there's a bunch of SEC and Big Ten teams ahead of you.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, Notre Dame's 6th. Texas is 8th. I know, Florida State, you're a fucking badass, but Texas is 8th. You're 15th. That's not like
the numbers don't add up.
But what I'm sitting here is that elite? Is Florida State worth all of this for not being an industry leader, for averaging 2 million views a game? But isn't this emblematic of the issues in the ACC? You're getting excited about 2 million views a game. And you know the worst part about this, if you just keep going down the list? Dude, what else do you see? Like Florida State at 15th, Nebraska, that's a Big Ten team. Michigan State's a Big Ten team. Texas A&M is an SEC team. Maryland is a Big Ten team. And Auburn down there in 20th is an SEC team. So this league truly is, in football anyway, this league truly is Clemson and then everybody else. Because the difference between Florida State at 15 and Maryland at 19, and again, Auburn at 1.86, not a whole lot. This league is all about Clemson, who's at 2.59 million. And I not to be redundant, is Florida State worth all of this headache? I don't, because you look at Brett McMurphy's tweet today, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, UNC, NC State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech are the Magnificent Seven.
Nice name.
Schools that have met in the past several months with lawyers examining the grant of rights to determine how unbreakable it is in the ACC. And by the way, The Athletic put out a piece that define the difference, as you read right here, between contract and grant of rights. Look at the second paragraph. In grant of rights, a school has given the conference something of value. It's media rights. But that has the conference. But what has the conference given the school? Because a contract is an offer and an acceptance and consideration, which means, hey, I'm offering you my grant of rights. You're offering me what's supposed to be reach, what's supposed to be revenue through my grant of rights to you.
Right.
Yeah, that didn't really work out for you.